Welcome back to No Rhyme, No Reason. I'm your host, Aaron Bergeron, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Popeye.
Hello.
And Ernesto.
Yellow.
All right, so next week is Thanksgiving, so I thought it would be an interesting idea to just basically talk about the main aspect of Thanksgiving, which is food. So how about we just start off, since this is how we start off most of our episodes, with a love-hate. Let's just go with either a food that you love or a restaurant that you love or just a dish that you absolutely love and one that you hate. And Popeye, let's not use cheese since we already know that one. So Popeye, how about you start us off?
All right. So, a food that I hate, or actually a restaurant that I don't really like, I would say would be Olive Garden. Just because there's not really a lot for me to eat there because of the cheese. So I'm just gonna tie that in, just because that's my biggest pet peeve. But no, Olive Garden. They did have like a really good steak that I like there that I could choose from. But other than that, everything else has just fucking piles of cheese on it. So, a restaurant that I do like, I would have to say there's a place here in Eugene, Oregon called Taco Vor, and they make really amazing tacos. Fresh ingredients every day, locally owned. I don't think it's a chain, so but I do like Taco Vor. They mix a lot of different weird ingredients that you wouldn't really think would work, and they just do. So I would say that's my love hate for the restaurant kind of food slash thing. What about you, Ernesto?
A food that I hate much easier than a food that I love because I only really hate one food, and it's fucking mushrooms. Like there are foods that,
Oh yeah.
but if I really had to eat those foods, I'd be fine with it. But you literally you could not pay me to eat mushrooms. You if you gave me the choice between eating a plate of mushrooms or having a prime Mike Tyson just beat the shit out of me with my hands tied behind my back, I would take Mike Tyson all day, every day. That's how much I hate mushrooms.
You really like that Mike Tyson reference. That's twice now. That's your go-to for something that you'd rather do as opposed to the thing that you hate. I almost feel like you'd like to take on Mike Tyson.
I wouldn't mind it. I would, yeah, it'd be badass. Have you guys ever heard the story of the time that Mike Tyson was at the zoo and there was one gorilla bullying another gorilla, and he offered the zookeeper $10,000 to let him in there so he could beat the gorilla's ass?
Sounds like Mike Tyson.
That's the Mike Tyson thing. I'm like, that's the most badass thing I've ever heard. Is bribing someone to let you in so you could just try to beat up a gorilla. I don't think it would have gone Mike Tyson's way, but it would have been awesome if it had. If he had gone in there back in the day, especially if cell phones were more prevalent when he did this. I want that clip of Mike Tyson attacking a gorilla in a zoo. Anyways, that's beyond the point. Just got wildly off topic. So yeah, mushrooms. Literally, you could not pay me, couldn't bribe me. There's nothing you could do on this green earth to make me eat more than a pinch of mushrooms at a time, ever. So a food that I love, you know what it is? Country fried steak is probably not a lot of people talk about it, but country fried steak is probably the uncrowned king of breakfast foods. You cannot if you get a good country fried steak, you cannot go wrong. It is the most delicious, nap inducing food that you can get your hands on.
When I was in the army, they were serving country fried steak one time during airborne school, and we got there around near the close of the DFAC, and the ladies walked up to us and asked us, they're like, "We're about to throw this country fried steak away unless you guys want seconds or thirds." So we had 4 pieces of country fried steak with mashed potatoes on top and covered in gravy. It was one of the best meals.
Oh, it's the best thing ever. in times like that, that was my favorite thing in high school was like having sea lunch towards the end of the day, and all the shit was just gonna get tossed if they didn't have it.
And they didn't give a fuck, and they would just pile that shit on.
And then there was a day we had the bomb threat, and they ordered like all the pizza like they do for normally like a normal day, and 75% of the school didn't show up. So it was just like free food galore that day. It was awesome. How about yourself, Wayne? What do we got? Love hates, foods, restaurants. Lay it on me.
Well, so I think Ernesto definitely knows this. I'm not sure if Popeye knows this, but I the only food that I hate, and there's like really only one, and that is potatoes, which is
Craziest thing I've ever heard.
probably one of the craziest things ever. But it's the texture for me. I just can't do potatoes. I like potato chips or French fries that are like pretty fried are like that's fine, but like mashed potatoes or like a baked potato is just I cannot do that. Uh,
We can't do it. It's insane.
But that's like the only food that I'm like no, I can't.
Want me to search for
Leave that shit in.
No, we're fine. Don't search for that.
I just imagine it searching for potatoes.
Yeah. Wayne doesn't like potatoes. I only found that out like super recently too. Like it was during this fantasy season,
I did not know that.
and it's
Kind of like the bow and arrow thing with Ernesto.
Mm.
see. Well, Andy said that he knew about it, so it has been a thing. Now like I'm just pulling this out of my ass.
I feel like that's just a default reaction for someone who lives in Parrish. Yeah, bows and arrows.
There's some crazy shit here. There's snakes, coyotes, deer.
Hence why I'm not surprised. And he's just like, oh yeah, everyone who lives around here bows and arrows. Ernesto probably too. That makes sense.
Absolutely.
All right. So for a love, I think the only meal slash food that I could eat for every single meal would have to be sandwiches. I just love sandwiches, all sandwich shops, all sandwiches that are homemade. It's the best meal. Two bread, put some meat and cheese in between, some sort of mustard, something like that. Oh man, it's just the best meal.
It's true.
It's so simple.
Put some chips in there. Have that crunch.
Corn chips, not potato chips.
Never a day went by that I saw Wayne without a sandwich. There was never a day in high school that I saw Wayne without a sandwich.
I love some sandwiches.
I'm surprised you didn't say like Pop Tarts or something.
No, that was long gone. That was a high school thing that I don't ever hardly have Pop Tarts anymore. It's a fun story though.
Pop-Tarts are a child's game. What's a fun story?
All the fucking boxes that were in my room.
Oh, you had an insane amount of Pop-Tarts. And then you had that giant Pop-Tart box.
Yes, I did. So, how about we just keep this train rolling and let's just talk about some of the craziest stuff we've ever eaten, like exotic slash weird combinations. I feel like this would get really interesting real quick, and we'll see what I decide to keep in. So, Popeye, what is the craziest thing you've ever eaten?
I would say, I guess the craziest would be sea urchin. It's fucking disgusting. Tastes like a really salty loogie. That's about what I can sum it up to.
Did you just have like cooked or at a restaurant or like
It was on like sushi. It was sushi.
Yes, that makes sense.
So yeah. So they put it on top of the actual sushi roll. That's how and it looks disgusting. We did it just to do it. Tasted disgusting. Would not recommend eating it. That's just me though. I guess crazy combinations. I used to tell people I had peanut butter and banana sandwiches, and they looked at me like I was a fucking crazy person. But
I mean,
That's not even that.
that's
That's
not that
even
weird.
That's not even that.
it's not that weird. But whenever I would bring like to school like peanut butter banana sandwiches, they chastised me about it. Like, you're fucking weird, and it's like, all right, well, I'm gonna eat my sandwich then. But what about you guys? I don't. If you guys start talking about crazy combinations, I might think of another one that I had. I just can't think of anything like weird or crazy that I've really eaten. Bear's really good. I will say
I've not
that.
had bear.
You say bear,
Yeah,
Yeah, bear.
like a black bear.
Yeah, like yep.
When the fuck did you eat bear?
Tastes like roast beef. It was at a buddy of mine's wedding.
what an interesting choice.
A buddy of yours wedding.
It was in North Carolina. It was one of the Hunsaders.
You say that it was in North Carolina, like that's supposed to explain it. Like, oh, North Carolina, infamous for their bear, their bear cuisine. Like at a what? It's like chicken, steak, some kind of fish, pork, bear.
I just imagine the RSVP. It's like your choices: beef, fish, bear.
No, it was like an extra side dish that one of the family members prepared and brought it over for people to, if they wanted to eat. And I did, and it tasted exactly like roast beef. I mean, if you cook it correctly, it tastes good. But usually, bear meat's really fatty, and if you don't cook it correctly, it can go south real quick.
I love how bear was the afterthought and sea urchin was like that's the weird one. Like bear just seems so weird. I've never heard of that,
See,
but
it's common.
But I liked it though.
yeah,
Sea urchin, I was just
If
like,
you ever been to like a hardcore
Yeah.
sushi place, like sea urchin's not that crazy. It's
yeah.
not that far out of that field.
no, it's not. It's not crazy. I'm not. I'm just saying
Bear, on the other
that
hand,
where I
I
went.
only know like one person who's ever had bear, and I just learned about it like 5 seconds ago.
And it's Popeye.
And trust me, I know a lot of people.
On this same trip, they're like, oh yeah, we have to go drop some bear claws over to
What is it doing with all the
Randy's
bears?
house or something. And I thought that they were talking about like the donut bear claws.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, there's a fucking bear, like a full size bear claw in this dude's hand. And I just looked and I was like, oh, we're talking about real bear claws. That's what we're talking about. I guess the dude I think they were going to stuff it to make it into like a dog toy or something. I don't know. Or like a pouch or something.
Interesting. Ernesto,
Yeah,
do you want to go or you want me to go?
I'll let you go because I'm still recovering from the bear thing.
All right. So I haven't had too many crazy things. I have had escargot, which is snails.
Damn it, you stole like the craziest thing that I've had. I was about like literally that was all I had in my wheelhouse. Okay, keep going.
I offered to let you go first. To be fair,
Yeah, if it's fine, it's fine, it's fine.
I will
Go
say
on.
escargot is not that bad. If cooked
Yeah,
properly, it's pretty good. I've had octopus as well, which just tastes like rubber.
yep.
Yeah.
And I've had shark, which tastes like chicken. Those are probably the weirdest things I've ever eaten in terms of just
I've had gator before too. That's pretty
yeah.
good.
I feel like gator's pretty common, especially in Florida,
It's pretty common in
Yeah,
Florida.
that's true.
and it also tastes like chicken.
Yeah. Chewy chicken.
Yeah, definitely a bit more tender. Like I've had all the weird like lamb, sheep, goat, duck, all those ones, but I think snails is definitely like the weirdest thing because it just seems weird to be eating them.
Yeah.
So previously, I was gonna go say escargot. That has now been taken. Snails, probably the weirdest thing that I've ever eaten. I don't eat a lot of weird shit. I'm pretty humdrum. Don't go too far out of my box here. So like weird combinations, I guess.
You put peanut butter on your breakfast sandwiches.
Oh, that's delicious.
I'm not I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying not a lot of people probably do that. I'm not saying that it's disgusting because I've had like I think jelly.
Have you guys ever had a peanut butter burger?
Yes, I have. It's like I had a burger one time where it was they had the patty, but they put peanut butter inside of the patty. So when you took a bite, like it like seeped through.
Jeez.
And it is a sleeper food. It is absolutely delicious.
It was really good. I was like,
You don't expect it.
I ordered it basically thinking like this. You know what? This will be a fun story, but it was really good.
Yeah, no, it was the same thing. You probably had the same place. Did you have it that place on 70?
Yes, I did.
Yes, yes, same place. Peanut butter burger, sleeper food. You don't expect it to be good, but it's actually wildly good.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, wait. One thing that I will say, really good food. Bang bang shrimp from fucking Bonefish.
That is good. It's delicious.
Bang bang shrimp. Oh man, I can eat that shit all day.
Craziest thing I've ever eaten, and it's more or less like stupid than it is crazy. One night I had been drinking, and I went down to Munchies 420, and so that in itself, they have the giant sandwiches with all the crazy shit on it. So for some reason, like I got a sandwich, and it had chicken tenders, cheeseburgers, macaroni and cheese, onion rings, mozzarella sticks, and like a Philly cheesesteak, fully loaded. So the thing is that I hate macaroni and cheese. I can't stand American cheese on burgers. And I hate Philly cheesesteaks because I hate onions, peppers, and mushrooms that are sauteed. So I literally got a sandwich comprised of things that I hate. And I got 3 bites deep before I threw up in the parking lot. And then I took the sandwich, like I was pissed off that I'd thrown up, and I just threw it out into the road. So that's the craziest thing I've ever eaten, and solely because it was literally made of all the food that I don't like. So that's it. That's all I got. Everything else was stolen. Peanut butter burger, sleeper. Go get one this weekend. You'll thank me.
All right. So how about just to quickly wrap it up? What's something like what's your go-to recipe or like something that you make that's really really good? I feel like I've never had either of your cooking, but I'm interested to see like what you guys consider as like a meal that you make.
I would say I'm really good at like grilling. I make a pretty mean steak. The marinade is courtesy of Jesse. I've just done my own thing with it. So, but everyone that has had my steak has said that it's pretty good. So, next time that we see each other, I'll have to cook for you.
Yeah, we'll get some bear steaks. You can grill them right up, and then we can line it with some escargot with a nice side of mushroom infused mashed potatoes
That sounds really good with cheese on top, right?
with extra cheese on top. It's going to be a 9 cheese steak. Wayne, what about yourself?
One of my like favorite recipes to make is like homemade ramen. I have a pretty good recipe and I like ramen. I used to eat it all the time in college, but now it's actually good and doesn't taste like salt. So get some chicken or pork, just throw it in a pot. It's good. It's easy, not too complicated, but it's really good. Good balance of Asian seasonings and sauces. But that's,
That's fantastic.
That
I
sounds
mean,
delightful.
I can grill pretty good steak too. Not to brag, but definitely like to stay inside because I live in Florida.
So I cook quite a bit, enough to at one point I wanted to run a restaurant. So I make a really good scratch chicken parmesan. I make a really good scratch shrimp scampi. I make this ridiculous white chocolate raspberry cheesecake. And then, you know what? Like, if I had to pick one thing, like, I make phenomenal patty melts. Like, the best patty melt that you would ever taste in your entire life.
I will say that I learned to make a really good fucking skillet burger from Ernesto. So
That's what you do.
So those recipes all sound good, and they're not. The three of them are pretty standard. They're not easy, but they're good recipes. I make some of them myself. Cheesecake. Cheesecake is a bitch to make.
It is. It took
How?
me a long time to perfect
Why
it.
white chocolate cheesecake and
White chocolate
what?
raspberry.
Yeah, I it's such a weird thing. Did you have it someplace and were like, I have to replicate this?
I had a protein bar that was white chocolate raspberry, and that's what inspired me. Like it's delicious. Like
It
I don't know if
is.
you ever had those two, that combination of flavor.
Yes.
Um,
yes,
but I made it. Like the first time I made it was for Christmas because it's the right colors,
Sure.
and then I made it for a for a class, and when I went to college, and people raved about it. Raved.
All right. That would be the one I'd want to try because cheesecake is just a. Oh my god, it's the
Well,
worst.
listen.
It's
At the end of the year, end of the fantasy season, when I go collect my trophy, my prize money, my look of dismay from everyone's faces, I will bring a lovely white chocolate raspberry cheesecake for everyone to enjoy,
no.
except for Popeye because he won't be here. But he'll hear about it. He will hear about it.
I'm sure he will. All right. Well, that was fun. It's interesting look into the food world with you guys. There was one last little topic of discussion that came up before we recorded this episode. I don't know if Ernesto wants to set the table or if he would just like me to take it.
I think Ernesto should set the table.
Listen, you can take it. I mean, I've made my opinion very clear. So the debacle is, I would like to be a little more outlandish, a little more edgy when we're doing these things. The show is called No Rhyme No Reason. Prior to talking about food, we were going to talk about Thanksgiving and the holidays and a Black Friday, and it's very nice. And then I mockingly said, it's very predictable. Wayne's favorite thing about Thanksgiving: football, not mashed potatoes. Popeye, I get to spend time with family. Oh, so sweet. Ernesto, food, of course. Typical Ernesto, eating. So I mean, like it's enough. I think we need a little more edge. We've heard from multiple people that our best segments are the segments where we're not really like yelling at each other, but there's an argumentative back and forth. More often than not, the two of you teaming up against me, and that's when we're at our best. So yeah, I mean, go on.
No, I think it's interesting to hear the debate back and forth of whether the show should be off the wall, crazy, or if it should just be humdrum, predictable. And Ernesto believes that it should be off the wall. I feel like I am fine with off the wall. I just at the same time,
Listen, all right. So I said previously, I said before we brought this up, that I had a quick point that would easily end this conversation. So if you reflect back to our podcast about podcasts, Popeye, what was one of your favorite shows? What was one of your favorite podcasts by this Tim Segura fella?
Your mom's house.
Oh wow! So the flair, the feel of that one. How was that? A little off the wall, right? Pretty off the wall, if I remember correct. Edgy, uncomfortable sometimes.
I see where you're going with that, and I'm fine with that sort of thing. But there have been some clips that we've had to cut out because of something that was said that we
What,
don't
that was
want to
hilarious.
hear the clapback from.
Hilarious. Listen, listen. Every great entity has massive amounts of critics, has massive amounts of clapback.
Tim Segura
Was
got to where
outlandish.
my
And I'm
my
not done.
point. Oh my gosh.
Okay, go on.
My
Go.
I think the point that me and Popeye are trying to make is that I don't feel like our podcast is at that level where we can afford to be polarizing, where we can afford to say outlandish things. I think once you get to a certain level of following and fans that know who we are and that those are just jokes, I think then you can be at that level where you say, okay, I can make this offhanded
Exactly.
comment or I can go crazy here. And it turns out fine because you have a dedicated fan base. You have people who understand who you really are. And we are at episode 11 and we are recording 20-minute podcasts.
And Ernesto already has a dedicated fan base. Like they're out, the Ernestoites, the Ernesto heads are out there, and they want raw, unfiltered Ernesto.
There is also a large fan base that I would like to call the anti-Ernesto heads. Or
Oh, I know about them.
and
Listen,
it could be debated that they far exceed the Ernesto heads. So I
Ernesto has been known to be a love it or leave it type guy.
don't feel like it's so wrong to tone back the leave it part of Ernesto.
Listen, I'm a peacock. You gotta let me fly.
I feel
You
like
gotta let me
somebody
fly.
who said that before.
It's from the other guys.
Yeah.
I know. I'm joking.
Listen, it's fine. I know that you don't know where it was from. I was glad to help you out with that.
Thank you, Ernesto.
Yeah,
I
you're
don't
very
know where
welcome.
I would be without you.
And still in jail after that night in St. Pete.
Probably.
So you're welcome. Anyways,
All
listen.
right. Well, I'm sure.
Open the tab, let everyone free.
I'm
That's all I'm
sure
gonna say.
next week. Actually, no, not next week. We'll probably take Thanksgiving off, but the week after that, I'm sure we'll have some off the wall podcasts where Ernesto can let his peacock
My
fly, if you will.
creative, yes, thank you. Thank you. Give me the creative freedom.
All
Let
right.
my peacock fly.
I'm sure he will spend
The people want my peacock. They love it.
Oh, okay, here we go.
I'll leave that in just to leave you something.
Thank you.
But I'm sure he's going to work hard these next 2 weeks and come up with a really great show for you guys. And I can't wait to hear it myself.
Listen, that's my guarantee to all you guys. Not only do I have to handle the marketing aspect of things, I'll also be doing the writing moving forward. So,
quick question.
Yes.
Quick question. What marketing?
Yeah. You can always find us on Instagram at official No Rhyme No Reason. You can also find us on Facebook at No Rhyme No Reason Podcast.
Spread the word about us.
I'd like to say that Ernesto just made what we like to call our Ernesto promise, which is worth exactly diddly squat. All right.
No. Ernesto promises are 50-50. And it depends on how much I care about the promise.
What about the mic?
We'll turn in 2 weeks and we'll find out how much Ernesto cares about that promise. But for now, have a happy Thanksgiving, and we will catch you guys later.
See ya!
Later. Have a happy Thanksgiving.